السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أرحب بكم في منتدى العاملين والشباب في نسخته الثالثة لعام 2023. معكم مدير ورشة العمل أخوكم محمد الزغيبي عضو اللجنة العلمية في منتدى العاملين مع الشباب. We welcome you in this third workshop in our workshop program in the third edition of Worker with the Youth Forum. We have yesterday the first workshop and this morning the second workshop, and we are glad now to have the third workshop with our expert and presenter Anton Stepanenko. Anthony is the partner and associate director for education, employment and welfare in BCG, and we know BCG, they have a long-standing work and focusing on skills. Anthony is a global lead in skilling and employment, as well as the leader for education, employment and welfare. And you see, as I said before, with 11 years experience as a consulting expert, he has led enormous education, employment, human capital and social impact projects, and he has a diverse background that include delivering multiple complex large-scale projects for various governmental agencies, universities, and school operators, as well as in the global arena in Russia and other countries. Aside from his professional career, Anthony worked with the youth as well in the non-for-profit sector, and he was the pioneer of the Do Good, the National Reskilling Academy for Women, which emerged as part of his work and has impacted lives of more than 5,000 students in Russia. Our workshop today will focus on how to be successful in the labor market on the future, and it goes hand in hand with the program of our forum this year. Anthony will touch upon the three outlines: the current trends and distribution at labor market and education, implications for required future skills, and recommendation for the youth on how to be relevant for the future labor market. Just I'd like to notify the audience that they will receive a copy of the slides of this workshop and will be posted on the website of the forum. You will receive the certificates as well next week, inshallah. So I hand over to you, Anthony. Please, if you have any question, you just post them in the chat and I'll keep an eye on them. At the end, we're going to have your questions. I encourage you to write your question in Arabic or English. It's up to you. إذا أحد عنده أسئلة وتكرمتوا يحطها في خانة المحادثة، سواء كانت الأسئلة باللغة الإنجليزية أو باللغة العربية، كلها مقبولة. شكرا لحضوركم و hand over to you, Anthony.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. A pleasure and an honor to be here with everybody tonight. My name is Anton. Indeed, I'm a partner in and social director in BCG. I'm a consultant, but also I'm running and I'm a founder, and I'm supporting the National Skilling Academy for Women. We graduate around 5,000 women every year. So when I'm discussing skilling and education, I pretty much normally I know what I'm talking about, because this is what we're trying in our trying out in our academy. So is we have you 1 hour.
Anton, it seems that connection, it's unstable. We lose you a couple of seconds, and you come again, and we lose a couple of seconds, and you come again. Are you with us? We can't hear you, Anton.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I changed my connection, and
yes.
It should be now better.
Actually, we hear you, but we lost you a couple of seconds.
Okay. But for now, it's okay, right? I can continue with this.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So it means that you did not hear me speak Arabic. Okay. But anyway, okay. So this will remain, a mystery. Very well. So what we wanted to discuss today is perspectives on intriguing topic, which is future of skills, future of the job market, and how do you prepare yourself for both. And maybe a couple of years ago, there was a purely theoretical question for people in academia, or for consultants, or for some particularly advanced employers, maybe a couple of countries in the world. They would really be thinking about it. And the rest, I mean, we don't really need to be concerned about it too much, because the labor market, it is what it is, right? You can go on your job posting platform and you will find job postings, and here you go. This is the labor market. Everything's there, nothing to do with the future, right? It's like you can be an accountant, you can be a marketing specialist, you can be a consultant, by the way, you can be a manager in the ministry. I mean, it's all there, all right? But it is changing now, and with all these technological disrupting news that we see every month, or even coming out, one starts to wonder. And honestly, myself, I receive questions every second day. Will generative AI destroy consulting? You know, do you even need Anton Stepanenko consultant if you can just ask ChatGPT? And they actually provide a valid answer, maybe a little bit generic to my taste, but still quite, you know. And then you cannot not wonder what will happen with your job, and you cannot not wonder what skills you will need in 2-3 years already from now to make sure that you are actually successful and you can actually find a job and be promoted and whatever. So that's a little bit why we're discussing what we're discussing today. Now, what I want to do before we start, I want to show you a video, and you please make, if you don't hear sound or you don't see video, please post it in the chat, but we tested before, so you should be able to. The video, we actually, for one of the projects, from time to time, we do projects on future education, future of work in BCG. And for one of them, we were searching all the media material, you know, like videos and pictures existing, like available, to find something that will illustrate the future in the kind of, you know, in a believable way, right? Not like super far off future, but something. And this is a very funny one. It's actually just an advertisement of the product. It's Microsoft Mesh. The product has never been properly, it's developed in some, you know, shape and form, but it's never been properly, you know, issued and popularized. I'm not even sure, to be honest, it will ever will. but the video is quite exquisite. Let me play it for you, and then we'll discuss it.
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Okay, why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
That I think we should.
Deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前。
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Let's take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time.
I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have 2 planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
I think if we had 330, maintaining 2800, we'll be clear for approach.
Excellent.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries,
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring the
a
arm
world
down.
where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
Okay. We're not going to introduce Microsoft Mesh because it, well, doesn't properly exist, as I said. So it's not a very new video, I have to say. It was a few years back, I guess. And back then it was pretty much science fiction. Now, as we see it today, it's not science fiction anymore. You can actually, you've seen elements of this, not as advanced, not as funky, but you know, it's very easy to imagine like in 3-4 years, we will be living this life, right? Now, so what's going on, right? You see that the technological disruption is really dominating the scene today suddenly. And of course, ChatGPT was on everybody's mouth. Now there's a 4.0, which is an absolute science fiction in everybody's hands and everybody can use it. Then, of course, the generative AI race is also on, as Google announced Bard AI as a competitor of ChatGPT, and we will see many more announcements going on, right? Now, there's still the humanoid robots are still, you know, on agenda, and we know that this is also coming, maybe not as soon, but still at some point. The future of renewables is under discussion still, and so on and so on. So this cannot not shape the labor market and what we will all be doing actually very soon. And some of this us doing already today. So we in BCG, we analyzed the technological curve, and we selected 5 shifts that we think will shape the labor market like no others. You see them on the slides, is generative AI, green tech, robotics, metaverse, and the autonomous cars, right? So when they are really, these technologies are really in their prime, the world around us will physically change, the way we interact, the way we carry ourselves from one place to another, and actually the actual things that we do. So let's explore that a little bit. This is the technology roadmap that we use when we're doing foresight of jobs and skills. So you can see that basically the level of automation, which can be robotics driven or algorithm driven, will of course change drastically within the next 10 years. And then, like I said, some things will come earlier than some others. Now generative AI is already suddenly here, all right? And VR and AR are here, and you can use them, but they're not yet scaled as much, and as I think everybody expects they will. A lot of you can find on the internet a lot of startups that are dealing with holograms now, saying that VR and AR will actually even pass because no one needs them. Who needs to wear the glasses all the time, and and the masks and the gloves when you can have like a hologram like in Star Wars. Right, so it actually already exists, and some companies BCG, I think, will be experimenting with holograms quite soon. Can it actually be a good substitution for a Zoom call? Yes or no? So, and then there's everything else: the tailored healthcare that you will see, the green buildings, the opportunity to actually buy something in VR instead of going to a shop or logging into your application, and so on and so on. So. Let's explore them in a little bit more detail. Now, I don't think that by exploring these trends, I probably will not necessarily tell you something that you are widely acquainted with, right? So all these things are somehow around you, but what I want to do is I want to collect them, I want to gather them in one place, so that based on this, we can then proceed in imagining what the labor market will be looking like. And then how do you prepare yourself for it, right? So this is why I'm doing this. Now, starting with the generative AI, like there's clearly a breakthrough innovation. It's actually, the expert will tell you it's been around already for a few years, but it's just this adding the chat bot thing to it. It really made it blow. So it does, of course, text, and I'm sure many of you already experimented asking ChatGPT many questions. From personal to professional to studies to whatever. I'm sure you saw the news that in some countries people starting to, like students get their diploma, when the exam was passed by the ChatGPT, and it actually worked because no one can prove. It's interesting, but you need to realize that it can do so much more, right? So it can do the image generation for you. It can also do the video generation for you. And I want to play you a video real fast that we asked an AI, generative AI, to generate for us, to just answer a question: what is the Saudi Vision 2030? And let's see what the computer did for us and how it looks.
Today, Saudi Arabia stands on the brink of a major transformation. Vision 2030 is a plan spearheaded by the government to diversify the economy, unlock new sources of revenue, and invest in its citizens in order to create a more vibrant and diverse future. The aim of Vision 2030 is to create an economy that is no longer heavily reliant on oil and gas, but instead is diverse and dynamic, with strong infrastructure and attractive investment opportunities. To achieve this, Vision 2030 will introduce a number of new initiatives and reforms, such as reducing the cost of living and creating new job opportunities. It will also invest heavily in transport, healthcare, and education, creating a more modern, efficient, and prosperous country. Vision 2030 is an ambitious plan, and one that has the potential to create a brighter future for all of Saudi Arabia.
How is that, right? And it's, I will, from time to time, I'm involved myself in producing videos, as a consulting media, right? And then I can tell you a video like this is like a good couple of months to produce, all right? And this one is just a few minutes. And it's, I think it's good enough. Now, then, of course, what is it? That you can generate the high quality video clips, you can compose music, you can create images, you can converse like a human on a variety of topics. And all of this is very much related to work. You can imagine all of this in someone's daily operations, and you can imagine how much different these operations will be if instead of spending hours, days, and sometimes months on creating something, you can spend a couple of days, formulating what is it you want to do, and then pretty much 5 minutes to actually get it, right? It's a little bit like 3D printing and construction. So a little bit. Now, what it does to organizations, obviously, I mean, no one really has an answer. I think everybody is shocked. So it's only a rare employer who would really be advanced already in this thinking. But it's very clear that a lot of value chains and a lot of operating models in companies will now start to change, and quite quickly. And they will require a different skill set, different portfolio of talent, different than by consequence from that, different processes to acquire this talent, different processes to motivate and retain this talent, to borrow this talent from somewhere. You know, it's not today, but it's suddenly because of this first, like with the COVID, all the remote thing blew up, and then the generative AI things blows up. So one more thing blows up, and we will have it all around us, and the world is definitely changing quickly. This is just one example here of how the generative AI is used already today. It's an example of a marketing manager of a beverage company who can create not only the pictures, but also actual text and the video evidence and absolutely everything tailored to a specific audience, be it sportsmen or young people or disabled people or absolutely everything. And just again, imagine how, if you can do it so quickly and you have the same amount of time, there's a couple of months, how much more precise you can be in targeting of your marketing campaign. If you, instead of, you know, spending this 2 months creating one set of, let's say, images and text, you can experiment with a couple of thousands of attempts because it's so easy to create it, right? Now, green tech, again, I don't think it's news for you. Of course, renewable energy, and Saudi Arabia is investing a lot in the topic, the wind, the sunlight, that's all very clear. Green mobility, you don't necessarily see that too often on the streets of Saudi cities, but if you travel abroad, I'm sure many of you do, particularly to Europe, you will be shocked. I was shocked when I saw that first time. More than half of vehicles on the street will be already electric. It's happening today. The same is happening in China and in many other places. So of course it will be like this. Also, green construction technologies, our habitat where we live in, right? It becomes like this green environment with design, construction, maintenance, even demolition of construction and of buildings is becoming also green, right? So there's a huge source of new jobs and new information and new skills, obviously. This one to be able to deal with all of it. Robotics, again, I'm not here to surprise anyone with robots, right? It's very clear. Roboticized production facilities, smart farming, sometimes even automated cooking already, you know, or robot hosts or even robot bartenders. I mean, it's all happening. It's some of this is widespread more than the others. I think the roboticized production facilities is something that was already a few years. It's not science fiction. You will have all your Tesla, all your iPhone, all your whatever produced largely by robots. So there will be some industries more prone to that than some others. But then what's now also starts to happen more and more is not only the industries and the manufacturing plants, but it's also the agriculture and also the healthcare, right? And then what it does, if before there was a belief that the robots would come and take jobs of blue collars on in the manufacturing plant, now you see that it's spreading to so many more different job roles, occupations, and professions, and you just keep wondering who will not be helped by a robot. There's another example. It's not here, but I love it. Is the robot nanny, right? And particularly with the ChatGPT 4.0, who is able to really patiently, in a very calm tone, very adapting to the child, patiently teach a child something. If you combine it with a nicely looking robot, and there are already products like this on the market without ChatGPT though, but still, I mean, it's a revolution basically in preschool childcare. So then again, a lot of jobs that. Now, another interesting topic is metaverse. Why metaverse is interesting is because always you have these technologies that you think will be hype and will really change a lot, and then you're not really sure if they're hype or they pass by and they are substituted by other technologies, right? It happened a lot of times in the past, like for example, CD disc, right? We still remember CD discs. Some of us still have CD discs, but it was like only a few years when they were really prominent. Then you have Blu-ray, and then you don't need even that today. You have pretty much everything in cloud, and so on and so on. So the question is a little bit still about metaverse, whether it will become the thing or not. You know that Facebook a couple of years back announced that they're focused on the metaverse. They even start to call themselves Meta. And then some of you maybe you read the email from Mr. Zuckerberg a few days ago, where he basically admits that that's not necessarily going to head this way, and they're also laying off some people involved in this. So it's a little bit unclear, but still I think it's big, and I think there is no way that anybody will question that our collaboration will, I mean, I hope very much personally as a consultant that I'm not doomed to be in Zoom till the end of my life, you know, and because Zoom is a convenient enough method, but if you would be able to see me now live in front of you, although I'm not, or I could be able to see you, if you think of it, right, I'm now doing this workshop for you, I don't see you, any one of you, right? Your eyes, are you interested or not, involved or not? So of course, a technology that would really revolutionize this cooperation, this collaboration is very much needed. And so I think, I'm not sure it's going to be metaverse or not, but some sort of this will definitely be there. Just a short clip for you to reflect on this topic further.
Immersive technology is a powerful collaboration tool with the potential to solve for the major pain points of distributed collaboration, providing a uniquely differentiated experience that combines the benefits of existing digital collaboration tools and in-person interaction with an immersive embodied virtual presence in a hybrid physical-digital space to bring people together across distance by connecting the virtual and physical worlds while stripping away the distractions of remote work. The metaverse is evolving rapidly. Headsets are quickly becoming smaller and lighter, converging toward a mobile wearable device. We are approaching an inflection point of mass adoption of enterprise-level virtual reality.
Yeah, so we cut the clip a little bit because I think it makes the point pretty fast. So I don't own myself VR goggles yet, but somehow I am convinced that my kids will definitely use them for so many But let's see. Now, okay, so we have this one, right? So you can work. You can like what you can do today, right? You can already work, like you see the examples of application you use for this. You can sometimes even do business, like real business, like currency swap or something. You can watch a concert there. The Fortnite thing was very popular. You can definitely do a museum visit. I think that's one of the things that are definitely there and is there to stay. So it's already for today, you know, but what is really missing and somehow is the power to ignite it to become, you know, not just a rarity. Let's go and visit, I don't know, Louvre in Abu Dhabi in wearing our goggles, right? But it will really become widespread. Something that happened with the generative AI, this chatbot that almost overnight, you know, it made it to actually in 2 days, almost precisely, it made it to a few million computers. So what is then the triggering point for the metaverse? Let's yet to see. If it happens this way, then you can design and prototype there. Obviously, it enhances your remote collaboration, real-time information guidance. It's mostly also AR, not VR. Resembles a little bit the Iron Man movie and how they, you know, put together the Iron Man costume. Can you do all this? Yes, for sure. Is it useful in so many sectors? Healthcare again, agriculture again, manufacturing for sure, and transportation and controlling of vehicles, and so many more. Now, the vehicles themselves, just a quick video about it. I think it's one of the most intuitively understood topics.
Mobility solutions in cities of tomorrow will be based on driverless electric vehicles. Moving from A to B will actually be safer, it will be more convenient, and it will also be more affordable. Especially solutions with shuttles based on ride-hailing and ride-pooling will make traffic more efficient.
So our solution is designed to shift individual transportation from cars to shared semi-public type of transportation. In that sense, collaboration between the government, the OEMs and the technology companies is fundamental to make it a success.
We believe that for densely populated cities like Singapore, having larger capacity vehicles, the autonomous shuttles, the autonomous bus, is the best way to carry large number of people during peak hours. And these provide a very good first and last mile options for the people.
Just imagining that in a city like London, the number of road traffic fatalities could be cut by as much as 60% in the best case scenario is a major benefit to society. If the public doesn't trust in the technology and if adoption remains low, any societal benefits will be very hard to reap. Building public acceptance is even more important than the technology itself.
Yeah. What is it about? Let me switch the slide. Yeah. So the example of autonomous truck fields here is it's not only about these poor drivers that everybody expects that they will be out of job because, you know, will be all robots and algorithms, so no more drivers. It is true, right? If we don't need drivers, I mean, there's so many more, actually quite a sizable workforce will need to do something there with their lives. But it's more than that, right? Because if you don't need to drive yourself, basically a lot of experts, they connect a lot of increased mobility hopes with autonomous transport. Like, for example, like we're working a lot with, for example, the POD, or people of determination, or disabled people topic, right? And then there's a lot of things you can do for them. And one of the barriers normally that exist is the transportation, right? So it can also get much more mobility into that space, and so on and so on. So it's actually much more than just drivers. Now, the world changing fast, and what you see is like in 5-10 years from now, what we are, what we do, how we work, how we organize work, where we work, everything changes, right? Now, who we are, who is working, right? You see more and more what's called the Generation Z, so basically young people coming into the labor force with a completely different expectations of what is it important for them in their life. They drive businesses to be much more purpose-driven, to make sure that you can retain the best of the youngsters and bring a lot of new energy with them. So simultaneously, there's a lot of retirees or pre-retiree plan workers that is basically forming. So it's the workforce polarizing, like in the world, between the people who are super young and the people who are quite old, and you need as an employer to account for both. Now, by 2025, 85 million jobs will be replaced or somehow adapted with AI. In BCG, we call it a bionic workforce. Now, there's a very simple example of a bionic workforce person, or how AI already disrupts work today, is your food courier, right? So when you order food, if you think of it, it's 50% of job is done by a person who really carries your food from a restaurant to your place, and 50% of work is done by an algorithm who basically tells him where to get food, how to find you, where to go, which route to take, communicate with you, and so on and so on. So it's pretty much a 50-50 type of thing, and it's the simplest one, is a courier. All right, so all of these trends that I just told you about and we reviewed and recapped together, they just make this so much more, expand the footprint of this much more. Now, how we work obviously also changes. There's expectations that a lot of employees will work remotely. Big tech companies have it already big time. Ministries, for example, maybe not so much, but it's also happening from time to time. So it's really penetrating. People were hoping that maybe after COVID, we can just go back to normal. No, normal didn't happen. Normal actually changed. Now normal is hybrid work. And with the 5G also covering now 40%, or not now, but like soon to cover 40% of world population, then of course it's only more reason to try and work from home, from cafe, from vacation, from whatever, where. Right. So as a result of it, the companies have fewer organizational layers, and learning and work converging a lot. And we will talk about this later a little bit. And then, interesting enough, although is the conversation about how far the remote work situation goes, right? So if you can work from home, meaning that you live close by to work, but you just don't want to drive, or meaning that you can work from, let's say, in Saudi Arabia from India, or meaning that you can work in Saudi Arabia from Russia or from Argentina. Yeah, is it really bombarding the labor market and opening it to competition from around the world rather than from a 5 kilometers radius of where the office is situated, which is now pretty much a little bit the case, right? So that's a little bit for now. It's not opening it up globally so much, right? It's very hard to imagine that Anton will connect, will be employed full time and can connect from Russia like this. It pretty much doesn't happen. It's a rarity. So I think the markets are pretty much protected, with the exception, however, already today of multinational companies, where this happens big time, and you really can be working from an office of completely other country. But then so it creates like a internalized labor market, if you will. I see the questions coming, by the way. I really like it. I hope these are, I'm sure these are good questions. Let me quickly check.
They are just not a question related to
okay. I see,
the content.
Okay. Well,
but I received privately some questions in Arabic. I'm going to translate them into English at the end of the session.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Mark. So please don't hesitate to ask or disagree, or actually any reaction would be very interesting. Now, what it does to the labor market.
Anthony, even if they want to ask through the mic at the end, it's okay as well.
Of course. Now, what it does to the labor market, all these, wonderful technological review of mine, right? So it does three things, as we study it in PCG, but also in many other places as well. Number one, basically, of course, it just changes the jobs themselves. There are some new jobs that appear pretty fast. For example, this metaverse architect, right? Something pretty much unheard of before. It does exist already for like a couple of years. And we see many more of them. But mostly what happens is that the job names remain the same, but the substance of jobs change, right? Again, mostly because of technology. So the jobs evolve. Number two is what we call the reduction in skills shelf life, right? So is new skills that appear, they need to be replaced by some other new skills pretty fast, right? It's like the average is now 2.5 years. Well, the example of it is for example, new coding or programming language. All right, so you have the new software with its new language attached to that, and you suddenly need to learn it very fast, right? So it definitely was not the case before. And an interesting thing is changing is what we call the skills genome. So skills genome is basically a portfolio of skills in a particular job role. And it's becoming much more complex. If you take an example of an accountant, for example, a profession that is still quite widespread and was very widespread before, right? If you think of it, there's pretty much two types of skills that are involved. Type number one is the actual hard skills related to actual accounting, right? So you need to know accounting rules and how it's done, and so on. Type two is a little bit of soft skills, right? So I guess you need to be, attentive to detail. You need to communicate so you can actually, go there and explain what is the situation with accounting to your boss, right? Maybe I'm missing something, right? But like generally it's like 2, maximum 3 types of skills existing. If you take a data analytic, which is not a new profession, not at all. It's already like what is a pretty much almost 10 years in existence. This profession is not new. Although well, like it's some universities still fail to include it in the curriculum, right? But like you can go and be the big data analytic big time today for sure. So you will see that the types of skills, not in the skills itself, but even the archetypes of skills are many more than an accountant. And yes, you have the hard skills, but it's not only hard skills related to analytics itself, right? It's also hard skills related to what is it you're actually analyzing, all right? So if you are analyzing economical information, you need to be an economist. If you are analyzing, I don't know, consumers, you need to have some sense of what the marketing is and how it works. So already not 1 type, but 2, even hard, right? And then you need to be so much more explicit with your soft skills, all right? So you will probably need to write slides about the results of your analysis, and you need to communicate with people from around the organization much more, not just sit at your computer as accountant would normally do, and so on and so on. So the skill genome is evolving, and what you will find is that professions with a little number of skill types are becoming obsolete quicker and quicker, and all the new professions, they will have the huge variety of types of skills. So job roles are becoming more complex because of that. Now, going on. An example, like the new professions, right? Or some of them are super new. Digital cultural commentator, right? Is like people, like a few people in the world, probably, I guess. Some of them are not as new already. UX, UI designer, right? Is already quite widespread, and you need it for absolutely everything now. Personal content curator. No, I would say it's not yet even properly in existence. There are a few applications that can try to curate the content in the internet for you, but there's definitely not a personal touch to that. 3D printing technician, yeah. So we have 3D printers, so of course we have the technicians, not so many of them, but for sure. Scrum Master is, you know, maybe 7-8 years in existence, I mean, widespread state, I mean, so and so on and so on. So it's not like every country and every period of time will have hype professions. Like, for example, when I was growing up in Russia, we had a clear hype, and I'm sure so many countries have the same at different points in their history. So a good mother would tell her son that you please, when you grow up, be a lawyer, economist, or a doctor, you know, this kind of thing. And that was like, good families believe that this is a career trajectory for the kids. Now the situation changes. You know, lawyer, no, not so much maybe, but still. But of course, there's a lot of STEM and engineers and software and all of these things that parents try to make sure that their kids also go this way. And I assure you, in 5 years' time, there will be some other hype professions that we as parents will be looking forward to see our children doing. So this thing changes. Now, example of how the generative AI changes the skills genome, right, is take the sales representative, right? So chatbots and virtual assistants today address simple repetitive client queries. Tomorrow, they can resolve high quality, high touch client needs. Now they are reactive. Tomorrow they will be proactive. Now they can execute only assigned tasks. Tomorrow they can improve also AI tools themselves. And then it means that suddenly a sales representative, from a person who just needs to be outspoken enough and know something about the product that he or she is selling, then we'll need to do so much more problem solving. We need to do so much more learning to learn and communication to build even stronger relationship with their clients, because all the rest will be done by an algorithm quite clearly. And then, so this is how the genome that we're talking about looks like with the domain expertise, character qualities, foundational literacies, and competencies, that all of them change. This is an interesting example of the genome for a blue-collar job. what is it here on the slide? Let me move the bionic machine operator, right? So, and you see how many different skills it needs to be successful. So it's one of the points I'm trying to drive for you is that you cannot really study something just one. All right, you really need to be not necessarily a jack of all trades, but you need to be quite strategic with the skills that you attain, with the skills that you teach yourself today. And you see it just on the very various examples. Professions, like let me repeat this one because I think it is quite important. New professions and hype professions will not have one or two types of skills, as was the case before. We'll have 4, 5, 6, 7 types of skills easily. Yeah, so please for sure always remember that. Now there is a study that we are now doing. It's not yet complete, but we believe in BCG that the future will actually not be for the white collars. White collar is myself, right? White collar is most of you or all of you, is people who work in the office with laptop, who produce new knowledge, who are experts in what they're doing, and so on and so on. And typically, when you had your hype professions before, and your parents would tell you to go and become lawyers or someone else, they would normally 9 times out of 10 will mean this that the successful future belongs to this white collars, meaning that they're literally wearing white shorts. You know, if they are software engineers, you know, they still mean white collars. You know, you can wear your I'm sorry I'm giving this dress analogy, but the analogy is for to explain you the meaning of what I mean. You can wear a t-shirt instead, but you still are meant by your mom to be a boss, all right? And the boss is automatically a white collar, isn't it? So what we believe in BCG is that the future will not be for them or meaning for us. There will be so much less people like that needed because of all the algorithm things, and people who will really be widespread and who will really, you know, have big money is the bionic workforce, is the people who used to be what we call the blue collar worker, right? But now enabled by the algorithm, the job in all the sectors, it transforms, becomes much smarter even than it was before. And a huge variety of professions will tend to stop being white collar and start being these bionic worker kind of things. The only thing that we hope that will never change is what we call a caregiver, is people who just work primarily with humans and do nothing else. Is your nurse who are there with you, holding your hand if you feel bad, is your waiter who gives you food and some human touch and atmosphere to that, is your hairdresser who, you know, touches you, or a therapist, you know what I mean, right? So of course you can try to automate that as well, but there will always be demand for human touch, and these professions will survive. And actually, on the contrary, you will see that these professions will have an influx of people, because when you cannot be anymore a consultant, because not so many consultants even needed, you will need to decide for yourself what you're going to do. And the caregiver type of job roles is suddenly becomes a much more interesting value proposition than you thought before it could be. So we think there will be more than that. Now we are studying of what can be bet in Saudi Arabia, and we start to believe that this bet can be robotics, much more than the other things. This one is still a thinking in construction, and I'm very happy to take it offline. Now, how do you stay relevant for the future? How do you actually, what does it mean for you as workers or future workers or future changer of jobs and everything? Now, the answer to that is, of course, in education. And the new age of work entails the new age of education. Clearly, you cannot, and this will not long last, and we're absolute believers in that, just, you know, go into your university or in your TVET academy, you know, once in your life, get some diploma, and then, you know, just live with it and work with it. So no, the education is changing fast. It's becoming skill-based, it's becoming self-directed, becoming much more lifelong learning for sure. and becoming much more also human-centric, trying to, instead of providing all of us with the standardized knowledge, which is still the case today, to be honest, like in many schools and universities and whatnot, it will be so much more personalized to make sure that everyone can be realized as a person and happy also as a person. We see that sometimes in extracurricular activities, most of them platform and digital enabled, some of them AI enabled already today, but it's still not yet mainstream. So we do see definitely this becoming mainstream in the very near future. Now, the key to understanding this is now the learning and work are today completely two different things. Is like you learn, then you work, and then meaning that you don't learn, and then maybe you want to take a pause from your work and go learn some more, take a master's degree, for example, and then you don't work, and then you come back and work again. So it's like staged, right? And it's also different worlds. If you see, like, if you think in any countries of the world, Saudi Arabia not an exception, there will be a Ministry of Labor separately, where there's a huge world and huge ecosystem of labor, employment, job standards, qualifications, and the rest of it. And then there will be Ministry of Education separately from them, with their own huge ecosystem of what's going on with exams, assessments, again, qualifications, but not normally different qualifications, certifications, and so on and so on. And all of the countries now, they struggle, sometimes more successfully, sometimes less, to make these two worlds somehow talk and collaborate and work better to eliminate the skills mismatch that so many of us are having because of that. So in the future, we see that the work and learn, they start to intertwine. It becomes pretty much as possible the same thing. And then the education becomes personalized, it becomes human-centric, become augmented, obviously, that's already happening, and becomes also distributed in everything we do, when we learn, what we learn, where we learn, how we learn. You will be, our children will be the part of this. You can be the part of this also if you choose so already today. Now you have two questions to ask yourself. Question one is if your university or Tibet Academy diploma is not enough, so then what? And the second question is what are the skills you actually need to equip yourself with to be successful and have a good chance of being this bionic worker of the future, or consultant of the future, or manager of the future, knowing that this future is pretty much in 2 years from now, right? Because like it's this all the speed of change is incredible, right? And the answer to the first one is, of course, is lifelong learning, as I'm being a little bit more proactive, understanding that there's this stages in your, let's say, active years of life, starting from early childhood and K-12, where of course you don't have too much of a say. But then it's post-secondary, career start, career development, career transition, the post-career. On every one of them, there are opportunities for to learn available for you. And if you are strategic about what you want to do in life, you will find on every stage training opportunities. If not available in Saudi Arabia, maybe today, already so many more things are becoming available every month even. Then you would find international opportunities to train for sure. And then the question is like, what type of skill? What do you train yourself to be? Right? And then normally there's the cognitive, non-cognitive, and technical skills you can think about. Is just already knowing the structure of what you can even is like, it's a little bit like bodybuilding, if you will, right? So if you know that there's some exercise for biceps, some exercise for your back, some exercise for your, I don't know, whatever other muscle, all right? And then you can combine these exercises to build your body the way you like it, right? Or I mean, can be other sports. So it becomes a little bit the same. If you know the structure, where your literally biceps skill-wise and and your spine skill-wise lies, then it's easier for you to think about what you want. A lot of countries, and again, Saudi Arabia is now also ahead of the curve, are trying to think what are the most critical skills for everybody for sure to have. And this is what you see here is an example from WEF. It's a very generic list. Mostly for it's an old one as well, right? So it's like a starting kit, if you will. So this 12 12 skills that you are definitely want to have. And I know that Saudi Arabia is now working on a much more precise and much more full list of critical skills to have. That please watch the space, and it will be published soon enough, so you can start to think how much it's applicable to you. And then finally, the thought I want to leave you with is a survey of employers who are asked what skills are they missing in female job candidates and in male job candidates. And you will see that what is winning here is non-cognitive skills and ethics. And 90% of employers report that those are particularly difficult to find, much more difficult than some hard skills that you can pretty easy now attain going into, I don't know, a digital platform or Coursera or whatever, because these skills, they really take time and they really take effort to cultivate in yourself. So I think the foundation of non-cognitive skills and the word ethics is extremely important to start with and think about when you are thinking of yourself as how to develop you for the success in these absolutely crazy times. So thank you very much. It's very happy to answer any questions you might have. Dr. Mohammed, if you could please help me to see if there is anything that we can discuss.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really a wonderful presentation and talking of the moment of artificial intelligence. And as you said, ChatGPT is in the mouth of everyone. Maybe this month and yesterday, they just released, the day before actually, released 4.0. So the question, they are open for the audience. If you'd like to ask your question directly, please do. And I have for a question, I could combine two in one question, but I'll start with the audience first. If someone wants to just ask directly. Anyone, please? You just open your microphone or you raise your hand. So till someone comes up, there a question, Anton, that he said we are the old generation. We are caught between the fear and the promise of technology and artificial intelligence. The fear actually, there is kind of technological gap between us and the youth that we are working with, and kind of the language barrier in terms of technology. How we could approach them in this, all these disruptions, if we're going to design or invite them to our programs.
What do you mean by approach, Dr. Mohammed? Can you specify?
To approach them, to communicate with them.
So you mean like a cultural and age gap?
Yes,
so this is
there's a cultural technology gap. Like they are the digital natives, and we are digital immigrants. So
yes, of course. It's a very good question. I look at my son; he is 4-year-old, and I ask myself this question every day: what kind of depth and gaps I will need to overcome? He is a little bit older. The problem is, if as you hear from my humming, is I don't have a ready-made answer to that. Now, I think the problem is not so much in the instruments. It's not so much impossible to get into iPhone or and install TikTok, and we don't really need it. We don't feel the need for this. But we can be there for our children, that's for sure. The problem is that all this technologization creates a different world of values, of heroes, of images, of videos, of interest, basically, that will never be ours. And the more technology is around, the more this gap widens. So it's not about educating yourself of how to use TikTok. It's more about being interested on what's even on this TikTok, right? And this, I'm afraid that it's a gap that's very hard to overcome. I guess one thing is I'm thinking is still as any other hobby is trying to do something together and finding on TikTok something you like together, or creating a video for TikTok together, right? And I see actually a lot of parents or a lot of educators are doing this proactively. The parents would go and do the TikTok video together. The educators, the teachers in class, for example, they could create it together with the class, or find some interesting TikTok videos related to the lesson that they are giving today, and so on. Of course, this helps bridge the gaps a lot. So it just requires energy and proactivity.
Thank you, Anton. There is a question in the chat from Al Hanouf. Would like to look into it.
In the chat, can you help me, please? I'm not sure I see the...
From your opinion, what is the most important skills or top 3 we have to own and most important at the future job?
Yes, thank you. So I showed this slide before, right? And you will see this also in the pack that will be sent to you. So there are a few ideas of the skills. My own opinion, however, is that the most important skill is communication. And related to communication is the skill or a value, if you like. It's like, it doesn't matter how you call it, of being culturally aware and just people aware. All right, is being interested and being open. And I honestly feel that in a world where you can do your work by clicking a button and a generative AI does it for you, this is pretty much one of the main things that that remain, that you can really excel as a person. Before that, like a year ago, the standing hypothesis was that creativity is the most important thing. You know why? Because they thought that creativity is the one thing that a robot will never do, because it's a robot, it's a machine. I mean, they cannot be creative. Now they're writing music, they're doing videos. Oh my God! So I don't think it works creativity anymore. But communication, I still honestly believe in it. The second one is critical thinking and problem solving, because if you think of it, what generative AI is doing already, but you don't see it, and you will see it soon, very soon, and you will be shocked. Now, ChatGPT creates a world that is factually based and true. You can ask ChatGPT, what is Saudi Vision 2030? And it will give you an answer. It will be precise, it will be deep enough, it will be interesting to read, and it will be true. Tomorrow, you will ask someone else, like ChatGPT, that will not be ChatGPT, probably something else. It will give you an answer that will not be true. And it will give in such a factual based way that you will never guess that it's not true. All right. And managing your content and your information will become so much more difficult. So I think this critical thinking and trying to see if you are now being fooled, yes or no, is also definitely something you need on in the working space. So these two I would definitely do.
Thank you, Anton. A question, because most of the audience, they are from the non-for-profit sector, and they design programs for the youth. The question is, the design of any program is costly and takes a lot of time and energy as well. And we notice now that the rate of change, that the program that we developed maybe 2 years ago, it's not 100% relevant to today. So if you give us these kind of design principles to take into account when we design our programs, to take into the account the future of skills required for the future labor market.
Of course. This is a great question. So in short, I think in the paradigm of education that we have today, and you are educators and education specialists, myself, I'm a consultant to education specialist, so I know pretty well the reality, right? And I don't think there is so much to be done. We need to change these programs. We need to change them fast. We need to adapt. We need to have an influx of professionals from the industry who will help us do this and, bridge a little bit the gap with the actual work that graduates will actually do. There's but this, I'm not saying anything new. These things you already do, right? And we will need to do more of it. This paradigm that we have today, which is supply driven, which is you have your course, you have your curriculum, you admit some people, they go through this manufacturing product process, and then they get the diploma and they're out, right? As long as it exists, this is what you can do, and that's it. I do believe that this will be disrupted quite soon, and we will, not in our lives, but literally within the next 10 years, we will see education emerging so much differently from now. And the role of educators changing from people who support download of the standardized information in a standardized class of 30 people, 10 people, 50 people, will change much more to mentoring, to individual support and coaching, because the information, not only it's available, it's already available absolutely about everything and absolutely any depth of this information required, but it's also with the assisted by the generative AI, it will be easily available, right? And the generative AI will generate. So today, one of the key things that we have is a textbook. It can be online, it can be like you can hold it in your head. And I worked with so many textbook publishers, and it's a huge industry, right? So no more textbook is already clear. No more textbooks in the very near future. Why do you need it if there's you can ask, and it's a personalized textbook changing every second for you. So our roles will change, and in that new reality, in that paradigm, then of course it will be a completely new design rules. This paradigm is not coming. Why is not coming? It's not coming because the regulation, and we know all of us that education is there's a lot of inertia in this. You cannot, something change on the market, some new technologies is there, and you go ahead and change everything in education. Cannot work this way. We need to educate our youngsters. We need to pass on the values and so many more things. So of course, the regulation protects and encapsulates the education mechanism, but as a byproduct of this, it also binds your hands as to what you can really do in doing this. And the only thing you can really do, because you need to still comply with the more or less standard curriculum, and you still have a classroom online or offline, it doesn't even honestly matter so much. You can in all of your classes try to implement more and more of these novelties. Do one class based on ChatGPT and at what it will answer you. Do another class in the field. Go see. Do a third class from a museum, and so on and so. So consciously breaking the boundaries of education, I think will become more and more important. And the boundaries are, again, what is the classroom itself as a cell, online or offline, doesn't matter, is with a limited number of people in it, is your standardized curriculum that you must obey, right? And also your role. So I think now it's not the time still for new design principles. It's the time for experimenting and finding personally what works for you as an educator. I do believe so. And the new design principles is something that should be done on a systematic level. And it's not yet happening, and it will not happen for quite a while, just because it's rigid, and it's rigid for a purpose to protect educators and to protect the kids. So it's still quite a bit of time before it will start to change.
Thank you, Anton. We have two questions in the chat. One again from Hanouk and one from Ra'id. If you kindly look into them, please.
Of course. How do I change my mindset of ourselves? Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Balmer, for the question. How do you change mindset? Well, my mindset is something that is formulated quite early, right? And we all know this. So when you are entering preschool education, your mindset is already largely formed. In early school, it becomes like pretty formed. By the time you reach university, it's not cut in stone, but it's like fixed quite a bit, right? But it's still, you see people who do change their mindset. And I think if you analyze what makes them do so, it's emerging in experiences different from what you had before. Really trying out new stuff. I'll give you a very simple example. I used to be working in studying and working in Russia, and I had a very particular mindset. I did my studies in London, and my mindset changed because of that. Then I returned to Russia and was promoted, and my role changed to a manager role. And my mindset changed again because I saw when you take responsibility, it changed your mindset because you start to notice things that you didn't notice before. And then I started to work in GCC, and then obviously my mindset changed again because so many obvious reasons. So would it be the same if I would just stay in my place in my city where I grew up doing the same job, which was a very good job. I used to be an attorney, and I could be successful in that particular job as well, maybe even more successful than now. No one knows. But I would have probably still the same mindset. So taking a person out of where this person thinks he or she belongs, at least even for a limited of time, and placing it somewhere else, this is what enables a change of mindset. Wow, I thought I would not answer this one, but I think I did.
We have another question from Raed, and we have already passed the hour by almost 10 minutes.
Very good. Mr. Antonio, well, I'm just Anton, but thank you very much. Do you think a conflict between the classic universities, the new skills trainers on factories, or the open online university conflict about who is going to lead the education, the training procedures, causes the gap between the market? Yeah. So no, it's a very spot on, very interesting question. Thank you very much. Right. So it's what I was referring to. So the professionals in the field, they will tell you that now and in the future, a learner will own his education or her education. But now it's not the case. Government owns our education, right? I mean, you can go on your Coursera or you can go on whatever, but it's going to be extra curriculum. There's still, because there is expectation that you will have your diploma from a school, you will have a diploma from a university or that, and you cannot really escape that. There are some sectors where recruiters will say that there is a way to escape that. For example, Google will tell you that half of our recruits have no diploma, or we don't look at their diploma. We do recruiting skills-based. So we don't really care if you went to classic university or not. For now, this is, well, not necessarily a lie, but this is not the full truth. So this will only be applied to a handful of job roles, all of them entry level. If you're on the entry level, you're a software developer without a classic university diploma or without any diploma whatsoever, but you're just a very good developer, you will be a very good developer and you will find job, for sure you will, but you will not become a boss of software developers. You see what I mean? They will never make you a boss of software development if you don't produce a university degree. That's not going to happen. So the situation for now is exactly what I said, is rigid, and the government protects the system by protecting these signals on the labor market, which is your certification, your diploma. And I think this will continue to drag for quite a while. There are some countries, Saudi Arabia is not one of them, by the way, which always surprised me because all of the prerequisites for this, I think, is there. You can take China, you can take Korea, South Korea, and you can take many others, when they're like two systems of educations coexisting. The government education, which is your school, and like after school hours, there's another system, which is it's supposed to be extra curriculum, but actually it's not, because it's just so competitive then your parents will never dare not to give your child to this other system as well, because they know that the school doesn't perform well enough. And then so pretty much everybody, like 90% of students, will go to the normal government school, and then they will go to the let's say non-government school, government-backed school, but not the usual school. Or they will do it on the application at home, like a Squirrel AI, which is super widespread in China. So it creates this like parallel system, and this is just basically a bridge between the original classic system and what the market really needs. So I think we will see those coming out, and I do suspect that in Saudi Arabia we might see this for a while as well. I don't think it's yet there, right? People just go to school and to university. I mean, they don't spend time on other things so much. But I think it's a good bridge that can be. It's horrible though, because it's like it puts so much stress on our kids, right? They need to survive and and excel in school, and they need to survive and excel after school, and then they do their homework, and then they have all these competitive lists and indexes. It's just these countries who are doing this, they have a horrible statistics for child abuse, for child deaths even. All right, because they're just simply burn out. Yeah, so I hope I think Saudi Arabia will see this for a while, but I hope it will outgrow this symptom very fast. You're on mute, Dr.
Sorry. Thank you, Anton. At the end of this presentation, I'd like to thank Anton Stepanenko, partner and associate director from BCG. I'd like to thank the audience as well for your attendance and contribution. It was a wonderful presentation. Thank you, Anton.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed.